Long ago, when the spirit world, Earth, and the dream world were at war, the gods sent a giant to each of the worlds. His mission was to destroy the worlds. The rulers of each world stopped fighting, cooperated, and chose 2 warriors to stop the giant. The warriors killed the giant and peace returned to the 3 worlds. One of the swords the warriors used was the sword of Valis. The other was the sword of Lassus.
Lucia, how long until the world of spirits is destroyed?
About 6 months, then we'll all be sucked into the black hole.
Our only choice is to move our people to Earth or the dream world. Do we have any other options, Radha?
If all of us in the world of spirits move to Earth or the dream world, it'll be war all over again.
The evolution of life has always been the survival of the strong over the weak. So maybe it's the will of the gods that we invade the other worlds, eh, Radha?
All living things eventually die. The same is true in the spirit world.
I've had enough of your gloomy talk. I control the destiny of the spirit world. Anyone object? Seems no one objects. Ray!
Yes, Ramses?
The only one we have to worry about on Earth or the dream world is the female warrior who killed Roglus and Magus.
Yuko. She holds the sword of Valis.
I want to know more about her. Bring back Roglus from the world of the dead. He might be useful. And I think my sword of Lassus wants to know more about the sword of Valis.
Char! Rada's dead. Ramses murdered him as part of his evil plan.
My father!
He gave me a message for you. Go to Earth and discover the true powers of the Sword of Valis. Ramses and his army will be attacking here soon. You better hurry to Earth.
Our battle is a just cause. We are fighting to save our spirit world and preserve our race. In order to do so, we have to conquer the dream world and move everyone there. Are all of you willing to die for me?
Yes, sir!
So, she is the warrior of Valis?
My intro was a bit flashy, but do you like it?
Why do you do something like that?
Hey, ask your sword, Yuko.
You all will be sucked into the black hole?
Yes.
And you want the Sword of Valis?
We really need the powers of your sword to somehow save our world. According to a legend in the spirit world, there were two warriors. One owned the Sword of Valis, which you now hold. The other owned the Sword of Lassus. Ramses now possesses the Sword of Lassus.
Who is this Ramses?
He is the ruler of the spirit world. He intends to move all the people in the spirit world to Earth and the dream world.
Then, what will happen to all the people on Earth and the dream world?
He intends to kill them all. He is killing everyone in the dream world as we speak now.
Oh my God!
Are you a soldier of Valis? By the orders of the mighty Ramses, can't let you guys through.
Hey, come on. Valna is waiting for me. Why are we stopping here?
From here, I charge extra. Maybe you can pay me with that sword of yours.
You mustn't act like that. You are a princess.
I will not forgive the scores of insults for which you are responsible in this world. Now come get me if you can.
Are you Rogueless, who was killed by Yuko with the Sword of Valis?
Indeed.
If you obey me, you'll have another chance to do battle with Yuko.
There is something I want to ask.
What's that?
I really don't think your true purpose is to save the people of the spirit world. Am I correct?
You're very perceptive for a dead man. You're right. I'm really after the Sword of Valis. I already have the Sword of Lassus. Together with the Sword of Valis, I can defeat even the gods. Who do they think they are, testing me with the black hole?
Yes, I just witnessed bravery. I am Nizete. Now, let me show you to your destiny. Come. Yes, indeed. Even with the Sword of Valis, you will not be able to defeat Ramses. But when you discover the true powers of the Sword of Valis, it and you shall return to the gods. Are you prepared for that?
Yes, I would gladly die if it would mean that Ramses died also.
It seems as if Yuko has discovered the true powers of the Sword of Valis. The Sword of Lassus is calling the Sword of Valis.
Yuko, yes. Go and stop Ramses and face the challenge of the gods.
Ramses, you summoned us?
Yuko has entered the spirit world with the Sword of Valis. Get prepared!
I shall bring you her head, Ramses.
Our fate is in your hands. Don't let us down.
Don't lose your own head in the process.
I know all about how she does battle. I shall not lose.
Of course not. Warriors of the spirit world never lose.
Things are getting interesting.
Yuko, I've wanted to see you so bad.
Who's that? Rogueless? It can't be.
Hey, I may want to forget, but my body remembers well how that sword slashed me. I'm here to get the sword of Valis. Now.
I am Zarud. Rogueless is unlucky. To be taken twice by a girl like that.
Any interfering power is futile in front of this sword.
Beautiful. The glistening of that sword. Yuko, is that sword almighty?
This sword is our hope. You will learn to have respect for it. And this used to be a peaceful place?
Yes, and that over there is Ramses' castle. He should be there now.
Yuko, the time has come for the final battle.
Ramses, I won't let you get away with your evil plan. I can hear the suffering of all those you have killed.
Yuko has arrived.
I know. Now you predict who will win, Yuko or me.
Yes.
Don't bother. I am the only one who can determine how and when I will die.
I swear on the sword of Valis, on my life, that I will take you.
Valis and Lassus, now is the time to test your strength. Come, Yuko. So, there's someone who thinks she is stronger than me. That's interesting. Why do you wish to do battle with me?
To avenge the spirit of those you have murdered.
A worthless cause. Every living being eventually dies. The strong are meant to rule over the weak, even if it means killing them. Look how many you've killed.
That was all in the line of justice.
I have a request, Yuko.
What?
Give this sword of Lassus back to the gods. I have no desire for it anymore. Use it and your sword of Valis to save the spirit world. Our fate is in your hands now.
So be it.
Goodbye.
It's all over. Valna? Shar?
Yes?
Yes? I can't stop the spirit world from falling into the black hole. We shall have to lead all the people of the spirit world somewhere else and build a new world. One where there is no war. You two take care.
The world, once destroyed, begins to live again. But Yuko is nowhere to be found.